Right, we're back, and Paul, as our guest, for some reason we haven't grilled you with 10 questions, but we're going to let you grill us with 10 questions. So, what have you got for us? You've got 10 questions, we can't justify our answers, we've just got to pick one or the other.
Okay, sounds simple. First of all, Martinez or Jewell?
Martinez.
Bob.
Rugby league or rugby union?
Rugby union.
Union.
Sorry, Paul.
Oasis or Blur?
Oasis.
Blur. Oasis.
Spice Girls or Little Mix?
Little Mix. I feel like a pervert.
And for that reason, Spice Girls.
Little Mix, but only because my daughter's forced me to listen to them.
Brown sauce, red sauce?
Brown all the time.
Brown.
Ronaldo, Messi?
Messi.
Nick Powell or Jordi Gomez?
Oh! Jordi Gomez.
Nick Powell. This season's Nick Powell.
Do I really need to answer this? Yes, Jordi Gomez.
League One, Premier League?
Surprise me, Premier League.
I think I'd agree with you, to be honest.
I'm going to say Premier League. At the time that we were there, yeah.
Standard of football.
It's for the town, for the club. You know, it's where it's at, unfortunately. Well, I'm justifying it, which I can't know how to do.
Steak or meat and potato?
Meat and potato. Is there a vegetarian option?
No.
Corn steak.
Steak at the minute.
I'm steak.
Yeah. Trump or King Juan?
King One. Kit Cheng, whatever he's called.
King Juan of Spain.
King John. You can't read me on right here. I'm only a sports journalist, I'm not a news.
Kim
Shorthand.
The Korean one.
Kim Jong-un.
And finally, cottage pie or shepherd's pie. This got me on TalkSport last week. I genuinely couldn't pick, so I'm going to give it to you guys. You're the experts.
Cottage pie.
As long as I don't have to eat the meat and potato, the mashed potato.
Oh, see, I'm just going to say neither because I hate mash. I can't eat mash. If we have cottage pie on, my mum makes me one with chips on top.
Chips?
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's that one. So we're back and we're talking transfer deadline day and how did it go for everyone? I mean, I think we got everything right, really. I mean, I was literally sat on Saturday shitting myself mainly because he had a stomach bug, but also because I was worried about Nick Powell leaving, and it was just very bizarre and just very unlike Wigan Athletic to see us turn down such huge bids. So, what do we think? How was it for you?
Well, yeah, I think in terms of football business, you've summed it up perfectly there. Keeping hold of your best players, strengthening your team. That's what you want. I suppose in hindsight, you now wonder how much of that Nick Powell deal was to do with the signing at some point after 5 o'clock of a memorandum of understanding or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Which was the same day, wasn't it? That was the 31st when that
after business
express terms, was it, something like that, which basically locks them in the Hong Kong stock market. But we don't know. I mean, everything we say about Lukey particularly is not on about Nick Powell. He's happy. He's happy with his life, and how many more sports cars you need? Not many for Nick Powell, apparently.
Has he got his licence back yet?
But it's a nice story. No matter how cynical you get about it, it's nice that players said we're having a great season. I want to stay here.
I think that's
and if he left in 12 months, it'd be fine.
So I was cynical before, but I mean, there is a difference between a club accepting a bid and not accepting a bid, and a player seemingly, genuinely saying, "I don't want to leave. I don't want to go play in the Premier League. I want to stay with you and get you up." And that's something for all you can say about young footballers and their reputations, and even to some extent Nick Powell's reputation. That's a honourable thing to say.
It's interesting that the 4 clubs, well, Brighton are obviously the main one, but there was West Ham, Crystal Palace, I believe, Swansea, all a couple of 100 miles away. From what I'm led to believe, obviously, when he left Crewe, went to Man United, it was a little bit too much of a big move at that stage in his life. He's reinvented himself almost, hasn't he? He's happy, he's the infrastructure around him, he's the main player, but I think he just loves being that guy at training who everyone's mate, and he kind of got lost at Old Trafford, and I just think do I need to move this, halfway through a season? He's a totally complex character, isn't he? I mean, you just get the impression that he's happy kicking a ball with his mates, and it doesn't matter whether he's earning $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a week. He's just happy with his mates at this point in his life. It may not be the long-term solution, but he's fair play to him.
It's one of the greatest pities, isn't it? And sort of like the wages have gone sky high. You started at $5,000.
Yeah, I know.
And you just think like
that's the bog standard one.
$5,000 a week. Who couldn't be happy with that?
Yeah.
And yeah, you can earn more, but actually, if everything else is right for you, then $5-10 a week. Give it tomorrow.
Yeah, but he knows he's playing every week here. He goes to Brighton and he's having to start again. He doesn't play for 6 months. He's at the opposite end of the country from his family and everything else, like you just said. Whereas he has another good 6 months here, and he could have his pick of playing pretty much to some extent regards the top however many teams in the league.
I think
wherever he wants to go.
It's a lot of credit to Paul Cook as well, because I know I mentioned earlier about this thing about Caldwell. 9 of the players are his, but Paul Cook has come into the club and he's managed, and he's been a proper manager, and he said, right, what's going on here? I've got some really good players, I just need to manage them right, and that's about putting an arm around them rather than about saying, you're playing this position or train them hard like it was with him. I think he's just sussed out how to manage him absolutely spot on. And he probably does get a bit more leeway than some of the other squads, but it's recognised he's a really good talent. And I think to back up what I said earlier, I think Paul Cook is a better manager than probably Gary Caldwell because he's more experienced, and he's just all them players, but specifically Nick Powell. You couldn't blame him for leaving over the summer. Likes of Dan Burn or Morsey or Greg, after the year we'd had when you get relegated, players just want a way out, don't they? And he's picked them all up and he's just kind of got them all, he's obviously got them all playing together in a really happy camp, and that's what we'll hopefully.
Powell's such a special character, isn't he? Because you talk about such a body's getting leeway, but speaking to the players and stuff, they laugh about it. Noel Hunt did a column piece. Just took the piss out of Nick Powell. He's like, he's the most disgraceful trainer I've ever seen. He's appalling, but they laugh about it, and people are, Powell is Powell. He gets substituted 10 minutes before the end for his round of applause. They buy into it because they know what he brings, and he's loved in the dressing room. And he's not. If he went somewhere else, he might not necessarily get that. And I think he just loves being loved.
It's interesting because if you look at him as a player, Ferguson probably saw him playing that Cantona role, and he seems suited to it as a personality as well, I think. And hopefully he'll do it for us for a long while.
Palace probably wasn't a good club to go to then, is it?
Well, I was looking at Chris then because when you said finishing 10 minutes early to go and get his round of applause, Chris has got a different theory.
Everyone's on that now, and the fact he likes a can or two. Most things on the internet, it probably emanated from Muddocks at some point. But,
that was a running joke, that, wasn't it? Did he come on? Oh, he went off on about 60 minutes or something.
Well, just before Christmas, he played 90 for the first time. Before that, he was just brought off before the end, wasn't it?
There was a concert on in Manchester.
There was a gig on in Manchester on Sunday night, and I can't remember. It was an away game, and I made a joke on Twitter saying he'd been subbed because he got tickets to go to this gig, and he'd already asked, and that was the deal. He plays 45 minutes as long as he can get an early dart. And people sort of run with it. But it was a long time ago, I said that.
It just strikes back that the team is such a squad is such a solid unit, and Paul Cook himself likes a bevy apparently.
He's in the centre of that squad we're all in it together. We're all the great, we win as a team, we lose as a team.
And I would say it's detracting from deadline day really, but I would say that if it went up to the Championship and had designed the Premiership, it might change because now it's full of sophisticated continental with posh diets who don't drink. But I mean, for the time being, I think we're just loving it, aren't we? That's how it should be, really.
And it's a big link with Paul Cook and Morsey as well, having worked together at Chesterfield, and there was speculation about whether Sam would be staying, but as soon as Cook came in, he made him his captain, and he's been probably the best player, hasn't he, Sam? He's Cook's.
He's to the face on these two.
Maybe.
No, not at all.
We know he can do it in the
He's
Championship though.
He's the embodiment of Cook on the
behind
field, isn't he? He's his Roy Keane to Ferguson's Paul Cook, isn't
The
he?
way I would sort of look at it is the angle of, if you look at the era Paul Cook played in, and the sort of managers and the attitudes they would have had around the time around going out and having a drink and this, that and the other, and the era that Caldwell sort of played in as a manager, you're comparing the two, in particular in that situation, in terms of the professionalism side of things, that's probably what was Caldwell's undoing there, and what has been Paul Cook's sort of Philip in the way he's dealt with them.
And Cook comes across better with the fans to that extent, doesn't he? Because we can appreciate he's one of us, whereas Caldwell's, exactly.
And that's just something I've sort of picked up
it's
from
just
that.
generational.
And I think sometimes it's just personalities as well. Gary always seemed to me from afar to be a more serious type of person.
A bit more Southgate.
And sometimes that doesn't work. If you have to be able to take a rough with a smooth. You have to be able to.
He's got a face that he always looks like he's thinking about something, doesn't he?
It's bizarre because cameras off, Caldwell was as dry. To be honest, Warren Joyce, cameras off, was not cracking jokes, but he was a pretty, witty guy. But Cook is just that persona. Camera, same with Martinez. Camera on, camera off. You know exactly what you are. He's larger than life, isn't he? And I think we needed that last summer, having come down. He's just lifted the club, and
he's obviously ignored the media training from his badges. He's not been too polished.
It's what you want, isn't it? So many managers come and give you the cliches, and he's just like, I pinch Nick's phone on deadline day, just thank you very much.
Well, we mentioned earlier about Jewel, and it was the old, he went off with a twisted sock. It's a similar sort of
brilliant,
thing, isn't it?
Just brilliant.
So anyway, Paul, how was it for you? How was deadline day for you typically?
Well, for the second time, every single time I get told, how's it going to be? Oh, it's going to be quiet. We're not going to. I got told that last January it's going to be quiet. 8 signings on deadline day. They genuinely thought it was going to be quiet, and then it's like one deal, and then another deal, and then another deal, and you just expect it with Latics now, don't you? But it's. I think going into the window, the one thing we wanted was, can we keep hold of Powell? We got him. Can we keep hold of the rest of it? I'm astonished, and I've asked Paul Cook and Liam Richardson in the last week, are you surprised that people didn't come in for Morsey, Dan Byrne, Jacobs, Greg, all the others, Nathan Byrne? They can't believe it, honestly. They're like, genuinely, if I was an opposing manager, I'd have at least had a...
There's probably something in the Powell situation behind that, though, isn't there? Everybody's probably thinking, well, if they get 5-7 million from Powell, what's the point in us bidding for any of the players?
But I mean, if you're in the lower half of the Championship, you've got to be looking at someone like Dan Byrne or Morsey, who's done it at that level. I just can't believe that no one's even had a dabble.
Well, then going back to the story of Powell telling Sharp up front, like, if they bid, I'm not interested. If that's got out amongst the squad, and we've talked about the camaraderie between them all, if they've all thought, well, he said he's not going anywhere.
I mean, I'm not saying that they're gone. I mean, certainly Morsey, with a World Cup to come, he'd have been daft to risk it. Captain of a top team, playing every week to go to a Championship team.
Whether it permeated.
Exactly. It's but to keep hold of everyone would have been the first priority, and then we've added 4 very impressive squad players. I think it's a perfect window. Last year we were thinking it's brilliant because we've signed 8 players, because you think new signings are automatically great, and they weren't, were they? But
it's the excitement around it, but actually it's not a good thing, really, is it? To suddenly add half a squad to
If you're signing half a
then...
squad on deadline day, you're not in a good place. But I just
desperation.
think, we had a fantastic squad,
especially then when you don't play them.
We've added 4 players to a brilliant squad. It's honestly, I don't think we could have written it any better.
When you think about it probably makes you realise how agent-led the transfer market is. That, like you say, all the noise was about one player in our squad who has done it on a stage very recently, and if other players' agents weren't taking the road, then why would there be any interest?
Or they'd already been sounded out and they've said we don't want to, because a lot of it's all done up front, isn't it, before they even get to put the bid.
Before bids are made, you know whether players want to go on or not.
I suppose, Paul, the question I want to know is, and it probably leads to this, is like, how has your job changed through things like the transfer window and social media? Because it can't be a 9-to-5 job anymore. You've got to be always on your phone, really, checking out what's going on, and you're very good on social media compared to some of your colleagues in Peterborough or something like that. Well, you do engage well. I know you get your stick because everyone does once you get a certain level, and you just got to. But it must feel like all consuming a lot of time. You've got a young family as well.
Yeah, exactly. Deadline day, it's almost like the first half of it's just dead because nothing's happening. But you're always updating blogs and doing stories. People are tweeting you what's happening, so you're making calls and stuff. And it's literally a double shift, from 9 in the morning till gone midnight. And like you say, young family. I'm glad you've mentioned that because Mrs. K wasn't too happy on deadline day. Basically, did absolutely nothing at home.
To get a free pass on deadline day for some reason. I think she knows, but generally, I'm watching bloody kids programmes in our house.
You mean you can't run the Uber over with one hand while checking Twitter with the other?
How hard is it to type? And then use out.
No, but it is. It's complete. It's getting more and more, isn't it? Before it was like save stuff for the paper, and now it's get the internet, and now it's the social media. Get that out first, then the website, then so it's just hectic, and that's just the way of the world, isn't it? Yourself with your own website and your Twitter and stuff.
He doesn't know anything about our own website or Twitter.
Content, not technical.
It's all about the numbers,
It's the ideas, man.
I mean, do you enjoy deadline day? I mean, it's obviously busy for us lot, but I speak to players and they're like, yeah, we do, we watch Sky Sports News, but I get the feeling that it's like, it's coming to an end. We're almost like sick of this whole Jim White led.
It's reaching saturation point, I think.
It's going to push too far.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's never going to top the one where the fella got the dildo in his ear now. You know what I mean? It's only ever going to come down from there, and then the cartoon in the Guardian.
Yeah.
It's never going to get any better than that.
So what have you got, aside from that, similarly, have you got a favourite deadline day?
Genuine.
It's a favourite deadline day.
That was genuine, it was just
Yeah. One of my favourites was last year when obviously we signed Omar Bogle. The Yannick deal went through a couple of hours before deadline, and they got the go-ahead to do the Bogle deal, and his agent, he was at Grimsby's training ground, and he said, get to Wigan. So he got to Wigan, arrived, rang his agent, there's nobody here. This is about now, 10 o'clock. Come to the stadium. Everyone's at Exton. The medical's waiting for you. So I'm led to believe he signed by about 2 or 3 minutes to spare because he went to the DW, not Exton. It's just like, even in this age of football, it's brilliant that like a simple message, get to Wigan. I mean, the club had obviously said get to Exton, but the agents not realised that the difference. The training ground is miles away.
You mean we've stopped sending the helicopter to pick strikers up?
those days are gone.
Yeah. Paul's obviously just made that up because we published a photograph of him holding a Wigan Athletic shirt by 2 o'clock after.
Well, there you go. Fake news all over.
One of them or the other.
Yeah.
What about, have you ever published something you shouldn't, either because it was supposed to be kept quiet or just got something completely wrong, or relating to transfers or deadline day?
It's always a gamble because Latics are really good with, we're announcing this deal at X amount, X time, get it ready, get the picture, send us a picture. And with our system, with Latics' system, it doesn't always work in conjunction, so there's always a fear, pressing click send for an embargo in it for 15 minutes, it'll go up, so there's always that fear, but it's never actually caused a major issue like that.
I have that every Thursday night when I put your 12th man on.
I was going to say, I know it's talking about scheduling posts, isn't it? I'm not included, I'm not allowed to do it. Mine would go on, I put it on for 4 PM at 4 o'clock in the morning, it'd be like, hey, there we go. Absolutely nobody's looking reading it. So you've not had any major bloopers then, have you? I'm surprised.
We had a few bloopers with...
professional Paul, but then...
Well, exactly.
I mean,
the paper had a few issues with people breaking embargoes with new kits, but thankfully since Greg Farriman left the company, they've all disappeared. So I'm not drawing any lines between any dots.
It's only taken an hour to get on of them.
I was going to ask, like, you and your former colleague Greg Farriman and former Pint Ryan, well, I think isn't it about time you just had a straightener given the petty squabbling that constantly goes on between you two?
It's
Banter.
Just banter.
It's like Scrappy Doo. It's just having something at my heel that I just can't quite kick off, and then I go home and I've got a little baby striking. I'm thinking this is no different to being on Twitter. It's just amazing. But if it gives him something to do, it gives him something to do.
What you say about signing, so I think from what you said, you do get a bit of advance warning. The club's very good, and the trouble is in this day and age, sometimes it gets announced on social media before the club even announces it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
how
like,
you manage that, really.
Yeah, obviously, I think the days where a club can announce a signing are gone because you've got so many agents involved, leaks, people at training grounds, chefs at various clubs or hotels. It always gets out. So it's so rare that a club can actually announce something and you're thinking, wow, that has come completely out of nowhere. No one's mentioned that. It's just that's the way of the world, isn't it? People want to know stuff, and once somebody's signed, it's the next one, and it's rolling news. That's the monster that we've helped to create.
Let's just talk these announcements quickly. Like this, Devante Cole, for me, bit raw. What's handful when playing against Fleetwood? Good signing, bad signing, squad filler?
No idea. Is he related to Andy Cole?
Yes, his son.
Did you not see my Sharpie's not put a
I don't,
clause in this deal?
I don't trust anything you put on Twitter.
That's very wise.
Wait a minute. Every time we sit here, I've got a book full of notes, so you don't think I research stuff before I put it on Twitter?
What do you think, Paul? You've seen a bit of him?
Really important, really interesting thing that Paul Cook said. Obviously, when you sign somebody, it's like, yeah, he's great. I said to him, is he going to go in the squad? And he virtually said, no, he's not going to go in the squad. I've got Will Grigg, I've got James Vaughan, who I'm very happy with. I've spoken to Devante and his dad. They know the situation. They're coming into a club on the up, and they're going to have to. He's basically said, look, I've got Grigg, who's doing the business for me. I'm totally loyal to him. I've got Vaughan, who's next man in, who will push Grigg, and this guy's coming possibly with a view on next year to have a bit different, better pace. So it's so refreshing, because it's like, obviously you could have, you might see him this weekend, but he virtually said, and he wasn't in the squad. People saying, is Cole injured? And I'm saying, no, read his quotes from yesterday. He's told you he's not going to go straight in. So he's only a young lad. He's got 22, early 20s. Yeah,
So it's just not a bad deal for him. He's probably upped his wages and he's got Saturdays off.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like you look at Fleetwood. They're 3-4 points above the drop zone.
Yeah.
We've nicked their best player, and he's not even in our squad. And it's just like you talk about inequality and stuff.
Just loading back.
Yeah.
For a month if we can or something.
But so many times Wigan have had their best player cherry picked, and he's not, and we're all of a sudden that
Tyrant.
exactly.
And we had James Vaughan was a recent one as well. I mean, if you shoot a swap for Tony, then it's probably an improvement, isn't it? I think it's quite lively.
Well, I think it's an improvement as in we don't have to be thinking about how much game time he gets. But I think that was always a big issue for me, Tom. And he's just got that bit more experience and strength as well about him.
Strikes me as an over-the-top striker, which we don't necessarily play, but it's good to throw on, probably particularly at away games after like half an hour to go on.
Somebody said to me about Grigg that he's not the sort of striker, you think about forwards these days and they score goals from outside the box and that sort of thing, and he's not that sort of player. Whereas, Vaughan possibly is. He's somebody who can pick the ball up around the box, around the 18-yard area and have a poke.
First press conference, Paul Cook said he's a beast. I just love that description of him. He's different to Grigg, and he's different to Cole, and he's different to Tony. He's a beast. He'll just put it. You've seen already, when he came on against Plymouth, he just put himself around, barged into it.
It's like a bull, isn't he? Head down and
he's
charge.
Not the biggest, but he'll put his, fight above his weight, and I think he complements Grigg, very well.
What do we know about Jamie Walker? He strikes me as tricky Scottish.
Yeah.
We saw a little bit of him on Saturday, but didn't really do much. But the pedigree from what I hear sounds.
Lovely thing about Jamie Walker, when we first met him at the training ground, he said, if I get this in the paper, can you give me a copy, because my mum keeps a scrapbook and I send her all the stuff and we're going to pass it on to my little boy when he's old enough. And I just thought, you forget. I mean, I used to have a scrapbook when I was a little kid, many decades ago. It's just a lovely little...
Dad's a big Hearts fan, isn't
yes.
There's a joke somewhere there about Scotland not having the internet.
It's nice when it's a throwback to when real footballers, you know. If I get in the paper, I'll show it to the lad, and it's just really
I know they're coming from a different area, but it strikes me like Max Power in that his family, his parents are all big Hearts fans, and he's grown up with the club, and he's moved on, and they're not they're like when you moved on sort of thing.
There was that great quote about my dad's got a season ticket and he's not giving that up for anything, so it's
like when Jordan Flores signed Chesterfield and all the Flores clan turned up one game, they'd double their away support with that one, seriously.
Nice to have those like human stories though, isn't it? You know, it's in this day and age.
And the other one was Jay Fulton, who I think straight replaced for Lee Evans, although as Max Power's come in and done well, but also Alan, as I'm sure you'll point out, Morse is going to get banned soon, so he'll probably take his place.
Is he that sort of, again, I've no idea what sort of player he is, but I think he came on for Powell on Saturday, so I don't know, is he going to be a holding midfielder, or is he a more forward-thinking one? I don't know.
I think that's his style. He's a big strong, rangy sort of lad.
Do you remember when Jordan Flores got sent off against Oldham 2 years ago? Because an Oldham player went through it. That was Jay Fulton. I thought I know his name, and I googled it, and I thought, yeah, there you go. So he obviously likes to put a foot in. So been interesting when he met Jordan on day one, but.
So there's more listening for Sean McDonald then.
You bought him to show off his bookings.
That's alright.
No, but I mean, you mentioned Sean McDonald, there's another one coming back, so he's effectively a new signing, isn't he? So, squad's in a good place. Well, it is, isn't it? It's, international player.
Last question for you now in this section, Paul, the all-important one. What's the best press food you've had this season?
Oh, best press
food. Has it been a bit sparse in the Poverty League?
It has really, to be honest. I've got to give a special shout out to new press officer Ashley Horton at Latics, who, with the new constraints, no press food, he actually put his hand in his pocket. 15 quid he spent on biscuits for the media for the Bournemouth game.
15 pounds on biscuits?
On pure biscuits, they were proper, top of their age biscuits.
They were broken wrist biscuits.
Absolutely, banged them in there, and they were very, very well received. So thanks very much for that, actually.
How many of you is there?
On a usual league game, there's me and Rowley.
I could have done you a feast for 15 quid.
Bournemouth, they were obviously probably 30, maybe 40. Yeah, it was.
I could still have done you now a few balls of
for 15 quid for some, some butties.
No, P&M soup.
Some crisps.
And I got a steep on for you.
Well, we'll give you a shout next time. But yeah, obviously, press food wise, I'm hoping the City game goes to a replay because I think I'm led to believe the SM banquet has only got better in the years that we've been away. So.